So now we're going to take a look at my favorite top 5 in-class reading routines that use smart sheets and graphic organizers. Unlike the last video where we did the countdown down to number 1, we're actually going to start with number 1 because in this case number 1 is something that's really important that you do first before you try any of the other techniques. And so the most important thing to do is what's called guided text to graphic organizer note-taking. And basically the way this works is the teacher, not individual students, reads aloud a short passage and then facilitates a discussion where he or she is pulling the key ideas from the passage from the students as they're analyzing and discussing what was really important in terms of the ideas in that passage, and of all those important ideas, which are the most important to note on the graphic, and how do you condense those ideas down to bulleted form. And so what's happening is the teacher is co-constructing the graphic organizer notes with the students. So what's really important about this is the use of scaffolding or gradual release. And so initially what's important is the teacher's modeling the reading, thinking, and noting process via think aloud, so students can see how do people think when they're doing this kind of task. And then later guide student thinking as the ideas are formulated and noted on the graphic. The second choice here is to do what I call jigsaw to graphic organizer notes. And so here each group is assigned a particular prompt on the graphic organizer. And then each of the teams read the same passage looking for pertinent information that's related to just the prompt they were assigned. And then later as they share their information with the class, then the teacher's guiding the note-taking and modeling and so forth. And so here's an example from Language Arts of what's called a character features smart sheet that's used for character analysis. And so for an example, you might have Team 1 that's looking for information about the appearance of a character. Team 2 is looking for information about how the character feels about him or herself. Team 3 is about how the character perceives other people, and so forth. Now, what's important here is everybody's reading the same text. They're just looking for different kinds of information. And then later, after they've had a chance to do that analysis, they share with the class, and the teacher's guiding the whole note-taking onto the graphic organizer process. The third option is numbered heads together, and this is similar to jigsaw, and it's really hard, it was very difficult for me to decide whether this should be number 2 or number 3, because these are both really cool things to do that maximize student engagement. With numbered heads together, each student on a team is assigned a number like 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then each team is assigned a specific prompt on the graphic organizer. So like the jigsaw, each team is looking for specific information related to just their prompt. But then what's different is then the students regroup, and so all the like numbers from the original groups form a new group. So all the students that were assigned number 1 from the original groups now formulate a new group composed of all the number 1 students. All the students assigned a number 2 in their original group now form a new team that are composed just of those students with the number 2, and so forth. And so then what they do is they share the information that their original team identified related to their prompt with their new group, and then later share with the whole class and note on the graphic organizer. A fourth thing that's really powerful is read and then do pair share and then note the information on the smart sheets or graphic organizers. So basically students are put into pairs and they're reading the same short passage and discussing with each other what it was about, and then they collaborate with each other to take notes on the graphic. And then they repeat that basic same process for each of the subsequent passages. What we don't do is have them read the entire text and then go back and take notes, but rather we have them read a short passage, discuss it, collaborate to take notes, and then we move on to the next passage, and so forth. Number 5 is give one, take one type graphic organizers. This is another really cool procedure that maximizes student engagement, gets them really involved in thinking about the material they're reading. And so basically the way this works is each team starts with a blank graphic organizer and notes one key idea on the graphic. And so they read a passage, discuss it, and note just one key idea on the graphic. And then they pass it to the next team. Next team has to read what the previous team wrote on that graphic and add something new to it and then pass it on to the next team. And so what I might actually use is maybe 2 or 3 different graphic organizers that are being rotated from team to team, and as each team gets a new different graphic organizer, they have to analyze the graphic organizer, look at what the previous teams note, and come up with something new and add it to it. And we just cycle these around the classroom. There's a lot of student engagement when you do this. So these are my top 5. What's really important about these, though, is don't use these routines where you have basically a lot of peers working together to construct the information on these graphics. If you haven't first done a good job providing this sort of foundational stuff where the teacher's guiding the process of how do you read and analyze text and then note them on the graphic organizers. So those are my top 5 reading routines. In the next video, we're going to take a look at my top 4 favorite in-class writing routines.